Today is April 14th, 2025, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Yep, we're recording this on Sunday night for Monday morning, and I promised in church that I would post the audio to my mom's funeral to the internet, and so I posted it right where we have sermons. So if you go to our website, rvbc.cc, then go to the sermons and search under the sermons by date. You gotta go to the complete sermon library, and it's just right there. Or you can look it up by scripture. It's Psalm 91. You can listen to it. I think you'd be encouraged. It's long. The audio quality is not great, but it works good enough. I'm working on the video of that, and I'll let you know when that comes out.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we just got one chapter today in Leviticus 15, right. And you wanted to start with a verse.
Well, I did, but just to review, in Leviticus we have had sections that are 5 chapters long. So we had the first 5 sections first 5 chapters were the offerings, and then the next 5 chapters were the priests, and then now we are in the third set of 5 chapters, 11 through 15, that are about clean and unclean. Mm-hmm. And so today's chapter is about unclean stuff. But
and you called it a yucky chapter.
It is a yucky chapter. But it'd be easy to say, well, why do we need to know this? Yeah. But
it is the background to this verse you're going to read.
So Mark 5:25 says, "And there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years." And it goes on to tell her story and how Jesus healed her.
But if she has a discharge of blood, that means she was unclean.
Right.
And needed to have a sacrifice in order to come into the worship of God.
But this had happened to her for 12 years and she wasn't cured. So she was not able to go worship for 12 years.
Right.
So it wasn't just the discomfort of the bleeding. It was also being excluded from worship.
Yeah, and that's the idea of these cleanliness laws in Leviticus, is just who can come and worship or who needs some sacrificial cleansing from their sins.
Right. And so to know why that was such a big deal, that Jesus healed her, not only of the bleeding, but then made her able to be clean and go worship, the background is Leviticus 15.
Yep. So that's why we need to read this chapter, even though it's
yucky. It's yucky.
Yep. So just bear with us. Here we go.
Okay, here it is.
This is like a medical journal. Kind of what it is. Yeah. A gynecological medical journal. Go ahead.
All right. So the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean. And this is the law of his uncleanness for a discharge. Whether his body runs with his discharge or his body is blocked up by his discharge, it is his uncleanness."
Blocked up? That sounds terrible.
This is yucky, okay? All right, every bed on which the one with the discharge lies shall be unclean, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And anyone who touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever sits on anything on which the one with the discharge has sat shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches the body of the one with the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And if the one with the discharge spits on someone who is clean — I don't know why he's spitting.
I don't know either.
Then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And any saddle on which the one with the discharge rides shall be unclean. And whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the evening. And whoever carries such things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Anyone whom the one with the discharge touches without having rinsed his hands in water shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And an earthenware vessel that the one with the discharge touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water.
Yep, unclean until the evening, and then the evening comes, and like this bleeding woman, then the next day when she's still bleeding would have unclean until the next evening. Like she was hopeless until Jesus healed her.
Yeah.
Verse 13, and when the one with the discharge is cleansed of his discharge, he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing and wash his clothes. He shall bathe his body in fresh water and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, and come before the Lord to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the priest. And the priest shall use them, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord for his discharge. So even there's just something bodily happening to you where things are coming out of your body.
Right, it's not sin.
No, it's not sin, but you do need a sin offering. It's just something about even our bodies which are just like not functioning well enough to be in God's presence.
Yeah. Okay, if a man has an emission of semen, he shall bathe his whole body in water and be unclean until the evening. And every garment and every skin on which the semen comes shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening. If a man lies with a woman and has an emission of semen, both of them shall bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening.
We told you it'd be yucky.
Yeah.
When a woman has a discharge, and the discharge in her body is blood, she shall be in her menstrual impurity for 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until the evening. And that just means like every month you can only come to 3 out of the 4 church services in the normal cycle of a woman.
Right.
And everything on which she lies during her menstrual impurity shall be unclean. And like husbands, right, are going to be unclean and defiled. This is about cleanliness and defilement. And blood is something which defiles you. Everything also on which she sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until evening. And whoever touches anything on which she sits shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until evening. Whether it is the bed or anything on which she sits, when he touches it, he shall be unclean until the evening. And if any man lies with her and her menstrual impurity comes upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean.
Verse 25, if a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, not at the time of her menstrual impurity, or if she has a discharge beyond the time of her impurity, all the days of the discharge she shall continue in uncleanness, as in the days of her impurity she shall be unclean. So this is the woman in Mark 5.
Yep,
right
unclean
here.
for 12 years.
Yeah. Every bed on which she lies, all the days of her discharge, shall be to her as the bed of her impurity. And everything on which she sits shall be unclean, as in the uncleanness of her menstrual impurity. And whoever touches these things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. So that means for this woman who was bleeding for 12 years, no one wanted to be around her because they'd be unclean.
Yeah, just like a leper.
Right, just like a leper, yeah. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, she shall count for herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, and bring them to the priest to the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall use one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her before the Lord for her unclean discharge.
Here's the summary statement, verse 31. Thus you shall keep the people of Israel separate from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness by defiling my tabernacle that is in their midst. And there that speaks about, right, if you go into the tabernacle, when you're unclean, you will die because God will strike you dead because you need to be clean to worship the Lord.
Verse 32, this is the law for him who has a discharge, and for him who has an emission of semen becoming unclean thereby. Also for her who is unwell with her menstrual impurity, that is, for anyone male or female who has a discharge, and for the man who lies with a woman who is unclean.
Yeah, so think now of the words of the woman who touched the fringe of the garment of Jesus, who had been healed instantly, and Jesus then says to her in Matthew 5, verse 34, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease."
That's Mark 5:34.
Yes.
And so just how grateful and relieved she must have been after 12 years of being unclean.
Yeah.
So.
And you're healed.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Leviticus 15. Tomorrow we hit the peak of Leviticus. Leviticus 16 is a great chapter. We will see you then.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
goodbye.